2015 exceeded all expectations for Leicester. How big can they dream as they try to start the new year with a bang?
Talk of the title is gathering pace at the Emirates, but will 2016 be their year? Struggling Newcastle are up next.
And Louis van Gaal simply needs to win. The uncompromising Dutchman knows it could be the end if they lose to Swansea.
On New Year's Day 2015, Leicester City were bottom of the Premier League. Since then, it's been a remarkable journey. A long winless streak saw them 20th until April, with their manager feeling the strain.
A desperate result for Leicester City.
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand.
But then the fight back started the greatest of escapes. 7 wins in their last 9 games kept them in the Premier League.
It looks like Leicester City have done enough.
In the summer, Nigel Pearson was replaced by a familiar face with a point to prove, Claudio Ranieri. And prove it he has. Exciting football, win after win, and records broken.
Jamie Vardy! History!
From bottom to top within a year.
Leicester City is the story of the season.
Leicester City, fearless.
It's unbelievable what we are doing. Great. Half season is magnificent. And I think the 2015 was fantastic for Leicester. And I hope also the 16 could be better.
The festive period has been a tough one for the Foxes. They suffered their first defeat since September against Liverpool on Boxing Day. Then they faced Manchester City 3 days later. It's a mark of how far the Foxes have come, though, that the draw against their title rivals was a disappointment. They've lost their top spot, but only on goal difference.
It was a good performance for us. I wanted to see their reaction, our reaction after the Liverpool defeat. The reaction was good. Against Bournemouth, it will be more difficult. Why? Because they are in good condition, they press a lot, they move the ball very well. It will be a difficult match.
Bournemouth came into the festive period with plenty to be cheerful about, but their defeat by Arsenal ended a run of 6 without loss. Eddie Howe can still be upbeat. That was a run that saw them climb out of the relegation zone, and sticking with their own brand of attractive football, his players certainly aren't resting on their laurels.
They know how difficult the division is. They've experienced that already, so there's no way with 3 wins they'd be getting complacent. If we were getting up to bigger numbers, then yeah, potentially you might have to just remind the players how important it is to get their approach right to every game. But I've seen no signs in our training or in our match performances that our levels of intensity have dropped.
It's likely to be a crucial period for the men from the South Coast. After their trip to Leicester, the Cherries will face West Ham, Norwich and Sunderland. It's a run of games that could offer crucial points in their fight against relegation. Any slip-ups would undo the good work they've done in the past month.
There's more pressure potentially on us this month than there was last month because we're expected to get results. And that sometimes can be harder to handle than if you're going into the games as not given a chance by anyone outside the football club. So psychologically, there's a lot to think about here, and we've got to try and make sure we get our approach right.
In over a quarter of a century, these clubs have met only 3 times, and their only clash in the Premier League was in August this season. Leicester found themselves down that day, but Jamie Vardy scored the first of what would become a record-breaking goal-scoring run to earn a 1-1 draw. If they can maintain 2015 form, this could be the greatest season in Leicester's history.
The question has been posed periodically since they last won the Premier League in 2004. Just who are the real Arsenal? That mystery has proved perplexing, not to mention sometimes frustrating, for players and manager alike. So are the Gunners true title contenders this term? They did dismantle the season surprise package on the road.
It's Leicester 2, it's Arsenal 5, and the Gunners have been ruthless where it's mattered.
And they made the most of their chances against Manchester City at home.
quite gorgeous goal from Theo Walcott. And Arsenal close in on the Premier League summit.
But the illusion of grandeur burst as they suffered against struggling Southampton, their heaviest defeat in nearly 2 years.
2 for Long, 4 for Southampton, and a Boxing Day horror show for Arsenal.
A win at St Mary's would have taken Arsenal to the top. They blew that chance, but took the next, a relatively comfortable 2-0 victory over Bournemouth 48 hours later. League leaders then. Fans might worry about inconsistency, but not the manager.
If you look at the 1st of January to 31st of December, I believe that we were consistent, have improved our results, and overall it was a team where the team has grown in stature.
While Arsene Wenger bears the burden of title expectations, Newcastle head coach Steve McClaren faces the spectre of relegation. Away from the dugout, McClaren often cuts an upbeat figure, easygoing and ready to find the positives from any performance. But even his reserves of optimism must have dipped following Newcastle's hammer-blow stoppage-time loss against Everton, which consigned them to the bottom 3, and was followed by another 1-0 defeat against West Brom.
I'm quite a realist. I do know what's happening and try not to pull the wool over too many people's eyes, but I'm very positive with this group, with this squad. I always have been. So it's a tough job, but always got to be optimistic and always got to be positive, and always got to have belief in your players, which I certainly do.
And Wenger has every reason to have faith too, with Petr Cech, the new Premier League record-breaking clean sheet holder between the posts, and a majestic Mesut Ozil in the form of his life.
He plays in a position that suits him well. He plays in a style of football that suits him well as well. And he is today maybe in a more comfortable psychological position because he's accepted and not so much questioned than he was years before.
Newcastle don't have a creative superstar like Ozil to call upon. McClaren's men need to grind out results to reach safety. But the boss is confident they have the stomach for a fight.
That's what they've been doing. With not much reward over the last 3 games, but we've got to continue that, stick together, be strong.
Arsenal have never brought the Premier League trophy back to the Emirates. This year, it could be theirs for the taking.
Favourites for the title? Definitely at this stage, but it's only half-time.
So at the halfway stage, it's Arsenal leading, but only on goal difference from Leicester. Man City and Tottenham make up the top 4, while just 2 points separates Palace in 5th and Stoke in 10th. There's a far bigger gap, though, at the bottom, where Aston Villa find themselves 11 points from safety. Sunderland are 7 adrift, with their rivals Newcastle completing the bottom 3.
Chelsea continued their unbeaten start to life after Mourinho with a 0-0 draw away at Old Trafford last time out. With the Blues unbeaten in 3 matches, new manager Guus Hiddink can maintain an essentially positive outlook. But it's clear the Dutchman has a far greater task ahead of him this season than during his previous stint in the Stamford Bridge dugout.
It's obvious that Chelsea, that we have to improve, and we start gathering a bit of points. And it was the 3rd consecutive game that Chelsea didn't lose. But that's not enough. I think Chelsea must come now into a winning period of games.
Crystal Palace's 0-0 draw with Swansea extended their unbeaten record to 6 matches. But having failed to score in their last 2, news that Yannick Bolasie and Connor Wickham will be out for at least a month won't help. Neither will striker Patrick Bamford's decision to end his loan spell at the club and return to this weekend's opponents, Chelsea. When these 2 sides last met at Selhurst Park, the Blues were in majestic form. In October 2014, goals from Oscar and Cesc Fabregas secured all 3 points for the visitors, who were dominating the Premier League. A far cry from this season's stuttering campaign. West Ham secured their first win in 2 months with Monday's victory over Southampton.
Following 5 straight draws, scoring only 2 goals, Slaven Bilic will be pleased to see his attack performing again. Dimitri Payet is back in the squad this weekend. Andy Carroll and Manuel Lanzini have already returned to the fold. Jurgen Klopp is basking in his festive haul of 6 points out of 6. Victory over table toppers Leicester was followed up with an away win at Sunderland on Wednesday night. The German will also be pleased with the improved performances of Christian Benteke, who got the winner in both games.
A striker who made a decisive goal, who scores a decisive goal, is always a positive thing, but I'm sure Cristiano, he can play better, but in this moment we need his goals more than anything else, and he made it again, so we are really satisfied.
Earlier in the season, West Ham ran riot at Anfield, scoring 3 goals in a famous victory. But with Klopp's new-look Liverpool on a roll going into the new year, West Ham will have to play just as well at home if they're to shock the Reds again.
The EA Sports Player Performance Index is the only official player rating system for the Barclays Premier League. Following every round of fixtures, the preview team picks through all the key statistics to bring you the best 11 based on their all-round contribution. So here's this week's lineup. For the second week running, West Ham's Adrian was statistically the best goalkeeper. He made 4 crucial saves as the Hammers came from behind to beat Southampton. In defence is Leicester's Christian Fuchs. He stood out as the Foxes kept just their 4th clean sheet of the season and earned a crucial point against City. And he's joined this week by Arsenal's Gabriel Paulista. The Brazilian scored his first goal for the Gunners in the win over Bournemouth that fired them to the top of the league. In midfield, another Arsenal star. Mesut Ozil showed that not only is he top of the charts for assists in the league this season, he can also get on the score sheet himself. But this week's top-performing midfielder was Stoke's Xherdan Shaqiri. The Swiss winger scored his first 2 Premier League goals in their win over Everton. The second was well worth waiting for. Up front was another player who scored twice in that match. Romelu Lukaku's double wasn't enough to earn any points for Everton, but it did give him 10 goals in 9 Premier League matches. He's developing into a serious talent. Still to come, Louis van Gaal remains under pressure after a 6th Premier League game without a win. And next on the agenda, bogey team Swansea.
There's a cosmopolitan feel around Watford Football Club this season. The Hornets have utilised players of 19 different nationalities, the most of any team in the Premier League. From South America to Europe to Africa, manager Quique Sanchez-Flores has assembled a crew of global talent that on paper should struggle to bond, but in reality are exceeding all expectations. The Spaniard side are breaking club records left, right and centre. They've already won more points than in any of their previous Premier League campaigns. And hotshot Odion Ighalo became the first Watford player to score in 6 consecutive top-flight games. So what's the secret?
Now is the moment when we are spending a lot of time in making reports about when we are, what we have to correct, what we want to improve. So it's the moment to reflect. But everything I'm reflecting, everything I'm studying now is very, very, very positive.
Despite the different dialects, it is the language of football that's speaking loudest. The loss to Spurs last time out was Watford's first defeat in 6. They're 9th in the table, thanks largely to Ighalo's goals, the Nigerian ending 2015 as the highest scorer in the top 4 English divisions with 30.
Now it's a little bit different because we can try against different big teams. We know now that we can competitive against Arsenal, against United, against Liverpool, against Tottenham. So in terms of the confidence, we are a little bit power.
Manuel Pellegrini is adamant that his Manchester City side are the strongest in the league when fully fit. Undermining the team's strength, though, is the injury to Vincent Kompany. The captain's now out for another month. City have conceded 19 goals while he's been missing, compared to just 1 when he started.
Normally a muscle injury less than 3 or 4 weeks is very difficult, especially in the calf. So we hope that he recovers as soon as he can, but it's very important to try to continue without Vincent defending the way we did tonight.
Also threatening City's title chances is their underwhelming away form. They've only managed 3 wins out of 9 on the road and have only scored once in the last 5 on their travels. It's strange that the talented Kevin De Bruyne has only 1 goal away from the Etihad compared to 4 goals and 8 assists on home soil.
Very important season to have the amount of points that you need to win a title. As maybe if you reduce the last games that we are playing away, we are not winning. We need to win, but we are the best team play at home.
The reverse fixture back in August gave City the chance to extend their 100% start to the season. But in the early days after promotion, Watford showed their impressive defensive quality, avoiding a thrashing at the Etihad. And with City's powers limited away from home and Ighalo trying to score for a 7th consecutive game, this will be a tough test for Pellegrini in his quest for the title.
With just 1 defeat in 18 league games, including 9 victories, Tottenham fans could be forgiven for getting carried away. Song Heung-min's late winner at Watford ensured Spurs' 3rd successive victory and further cemented their Champions League credentials. 3 points at Everton would see Mauricio Pochettino's side win 4 on the bounce for the first time this season. Everton's current struggles show no signs of letting up. After the home defeat in that thriller with Stoke last time out, the record reads 1 win in 6 league matches. Roberto Martinez will be keen to address his side's defensive issues, especially as they face away trips to Manchester City and Chelsea after Spurs' visit.
Clearly, as a team, we know that we are not far off of becoming a really, really strong team, because our performances going forward and our performances in between the boxes, they've been very impressive. It's just defensively now we're putting ourselves in a very difficult position.
Tottenham have won just 1 of their last 8 visits to Goodison, but last season a solitary goal from Harry Kane was enough to ensure their Europa League qualification. With their sights set a little higher this time around, they'll be looking for another crucial victory.
How quickly things can change in football. Ronald Koeman's Southampton followed up their 4-0 victory over Arsenal with a defeat at West Ham. The Saints have now lost 5 of their last 7 in the league. News they'll be without Graziano Pella will be a blow to the Dutch manager's plans as they look to start climbing the table.
The most important thing is just to improve and always look in front of us, because we don't want to be looking behind us and trying to compete with the lower table teams, but we just try to improve, and by improving we have to look forward. So hopefully we're going to step up and get in a good position.
Norwich helped inch themselves away from the relegation zone with victory over bottom club Aston Villa. That made it just 1 defeat in 4 for Alex Neil's side, who are now halfway to securing that all-important 40 points tally as they bid to retain their Premier League status after promotion through the playoffs. This fixture earlier in the season saw Southampton record their first win at the 4th attempt. Goals from Pella and Dusan Tadic punished the Canaries then. And with that Arsenal win still fresh in their minds, there could be a repeat performance for the Saints here.
The festive period, a time for rejoicing. But for Louis van Gaal, the Manchester United manager, far from it. Defeat to Stoke City last weekend was the first time since the early 60s that United have lost 4 in a row in all competitions in a single season. Ahead of the match against Chelsea just a few days later, it was widely reported that another defeat could spell the end for the Dutchman. A spirited goalless draw has provided him with a lifeline.
Of course, I know that there are circumstances that a board has to decide to sack the manager. I have said also in all my press conferences, of course I'm concerned, but I'm much more concerned to prepare my players. And that is what I'm doing.
Although he's managed at the highest of levels, has Van Gaal, just 18 months into his tenure, experienced pressure quite like this before? To turn things around, he needs his side to start scoring. So far, United have netted just 22 goals in their 19 games. That's their lowest average since the pre-Premier League era. But the boss says his men have the desire and are fully behind him.
The players are fighting for me. The players are willing to fight for every meter. The manager is willing to fight. The members of staff are willing to fight. And the board is very confident in the staff and their manager.
For opponent Swansea, last weekend's 1-0 victory over West Brom finally ended their 2-month winless streak. A goalless draw against Palace just a few days afterwards means the Swans are now undefeated in their last 3 under caretaker manager Alan Curtis. There's speculation that he could see out the season, giving the club their best chance to find the perfect permanent replacement.
If we'd have lost the 4 games, then obviously there would be a huge amount of pressure probably on the club to try and appoint a new manager. But the fact that not only the results in the last 3 have been good, I think the performance have generally been good, but results are coming our way. But I think most importantly that the performances have been good as well, and we've shown a lot of spirit, a lot of character, as well as the ability to play the type of game that we want to play.
Louis van Gaal's first game in charge of United, the opening day of last season, and these two met. Swansea won 2-1. United's new manager sensed the scale of the task ahead. The Dutchman has since failed to hit the dizzy heights expected. With a further 2 defeats to the Swans subsequently, a 4th could turn the pressure cooker into a cauldron.
Mark Hughes will be pleased with his side's recent performances. A Boxing Day victory over Manchester United was followed up with a thrilling win away to Everton. Stoke's most recent signing came of age at Goodison Park. Swiss international Xherdan Shaqiri scored 2 goals which showed his quality and inspired his teammates.
It's not easy coming to the Premier League. It doesn't matter what level you play down. Obviously Shaq has played at an exceptionally high level at his previous clubs, and was always at some point in the future going to make an impact, positive impact for us, and he's starting to do that to great effect.
Tony Pulis was relieved to see his West Brom team end their recent dip in form. Victory over Newcastle was the Baggies' first in 6 league matches and their first clean sheet in 9. West Brom are still just 6 points above the relegation zone, so Pulis will need to tighten up in defence if they're to finish the season in the top half of the table. Last term, West Brom secured their first ever home Premier League win against Stoke at the 6th attempt. Brown Aday's goal gave Pulis a victory over his former club, but it may be more difficult this time.
While everything else in the Premier League is topsy-turvy and unpredictable, Sunderland's form has been completely consistent. No win in December. Sam Allardyce's Black Cats have lost 5 consecutive matches. Familiar woes. Could this be the end of their long sequence of escapology? Next up, fellow strugglers Aston Villa, a must-win match for sure. Desperate doesn't begin to describe Villa's plight. No victory in 18 league matches. They're 4 points off second-bottom Sunderland and 11 points adrift of 17th-placed Swansea. Remigard had said that they'd be doomed if they failed to win at Norwich, where they lost, and here at the Stadium of Light. But he's not given up hope just yet.
It's a very important game, but this is not the last chance we will have, to be fair. We will go there to win. I want my team to have the best spirit that we can have, and I'm sure that the player will be very, very committed, like they have been this last game.
Villa need encouragement, and they can at least look back to last season's result on Wearside. A 4-0 away victory was their 3rd in succession in all competitions as they moved 3 points clear of the drop zone. New year, new hope?
So West Ham and Liverpool face off in the first game of 2016. Home fixtures for the top 2. Arsenal host Newcastle and Leicester welcome Bournemouth. The bottom 2, Sunderland and Villa, meet at the Stadium of Light, and the later kick-off is Watford against 3rd place City. On Sunday, Crystal Palace test Chelsea's mini-revival before Everton and Spurs clash at Goodison.
It's the halfway stage of the Barclays Premier League. As we look ahead to 2016 and the second half of this season of surprises, it's nigh on impossible to predict how it'll pan out. Will there be a sting in the tail for the overachievers? What hammer blows are in store? Who'll have the resilience to recover? Can wounded giants rediscover their glory? Questions, questions. In time there'll be answers and you'll find them here with us. For now, from Robin Bailey, me, Izzy Clark and the rest of the preview team, goodbye and Happy New Year.